Hello, Surrender Sisters. Welcome to the channel. My name is Tyra. I hope you guys are having a great day. And the title of this message is called, They May Criticize You, But God Has Your Back. They may criticize you, but God has your back. And so I'm going to be reading from Numbers 12. This is the text that talks about Miriam and Aaron complaining against Moses. And for several reasons, but as we continue to read, we'll learn the actual reason why. So if we start with chapter 12, verse 1, it says, and I'm going to be reading from the NLT version. While they were at Hazeroth, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he had married a Cushite woman. In other words, she was Ethiopian, so different from them, obviously. And if we just stop right there, I just want to talk about that, just that fact. So if your family is coming against you because the Lord has told you to marry someone of a different race, then that's none of their business. They don't have anything to do with that. You do what the Lord has told you to do. And if he told you to do it, obviously God approved him marrying his wife. So nobody else has anything to do with it. It's not their business. So they were worried about the wrong thing to begin with. But as we continue to read on, we see that wasn't even the reason. So in verse 2, it says, they said, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too? But the Lord heard them. So here's the meat and the potatoes of it. They weren't really worried about him marrying the Ethiopian lady. They were jealous and a little envious because God had chose Moses to lead his people. He chose him for the position. So they were like, well, is Moses the only one that he can speak through? But the Lord, and it said that the Lord heard them. So Moses wasn't even aware that his brother and his sister was talking about him. But of course, God heard it. And so then in verse 3, it talks about Moses's character, that he was a very humble person and that he was right standing before the Lord. So once the Lord heard them say that, he immediately called a meeting between the three of them. And he brought it to the light. See, Moses didn't know that they were talking about him, but obviously God did, and he wanted to bring it to the light. So it says in verse 4, so immediately the Lord called to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, go out to the tabernacle, all three of you. So they went and they had their meeting. And then if we skip down to verse 6, it says, and the Lord said to them, now listen to what I say. If there were prophets among you, I, the Lord, will reveal myself in visions. I would speak to them in dreams. Basically, he's telling them, if I thought that you were a prophet, or that I thought that you could do this job, then I would have spoken to you. I would have told you. You would have known. And then he says in verse 7, but now with my servant Moses, of all my house, he is the one I trust. And when I read this, I was just blown away, because it is a beautiful thing when God trusts you. When God trusts you, when he knows that he can trust you to do the job that he's called you to do. I mean, that's amazing, because God knows our hearts. He knows who can handle what. And so when you have people, family or otherwise, that are going around talking about something that they don't even understand, a responsibility that they can't even handle, that oil is not cheap. And so there are sacrifices to this thing. There's a place of surrender that you have to be to. There are things that, when God knows that he can trust you to wake up at 12 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning to pray and intercede for somebody you don't even know, or pray and intercede for a family member. He can trust you if he calls you to move somewhere and you don't have the money to do it, but you're trusting him that he's going to make provision. He can trust you that if he tells you to go somewhere or talk to somebody, even if you look crazy, he knows that you're going to do it. There's a place of surrender and sacrifice and dying to yourself every day that some may not understand. We want the mantle, but we don't want to go through the fire. We want what we see others have, but you don't know what happens behind the scenes. But see, God does. And that's the key thing here. God knows what's going on behind the scene. He knows who he can trust. And so he trusts Moses to lead his people. And so when Miriam and Aaron were talking about him, we're talking about Moses, that upset God. That ruffled his feathers. And so he was like, because you don't know what my son goes through. You don't know what my daughter goes through. So don't put your mouth on people because you don't know how God is going to use them. With you, your family doesn't know, that God is called, that he's rising you up to be the family redeemer, to be the repairer of the breach, to break generational curses in your bloodline, to pray and intercede on that very family member who's talking about you. They don't understand that. And so if we continue on to verse 9, it says, the Lord was very angry with them and he departed. And as soon as he left, Miriam was struck with leprosy, just because she put her mouth on her brother, on Moses. Just because of that reason. And Moses was the very one who had to intercede and pray on her behalf, to where, God would take that illness from her. Otherwise, she would have been struck with it for life. He made her stay with it for 7 days. So we just have to be careful about that. So if somebody is talking about you, somebody's criticizing you, and God is telling you he's called you, to walk in whatever mantle, whatever ministry, to speak to, however it is, to whoever he's telling you to do it, then do it. Don't let people who don't know, who can't understand, who can't possibly understand your walk, deter you from walking. And if they do criticize you and they come against you, they're not solely coming against you, they're coming against God, because God sent you. And I'm just looking down because I want to make sure I get all the key points in this. But God sent you, and he will vindicate you. So you don't have to worry about said person or your family member going against, whatever the Lord is telling you to do. Because as we see in this chapter, God vindicated Moses, and Moses wasn't even aware that there was an issue, but the Lord saw it. The Lord saw it, and the Lord trusts Moses. So I think that's all that I have for right now. I just wanted to encourage someone who may be on their walk. Even with this encouraged me, because a lot of times this walk is not easy. It's hard. And sometimes you'll look crazy doing what God's telling you to do, but just keep doing it. Keep going forth. Don't worry about what anybody is saying, if you know that they're talking about you, whether it's family or whoever, but just keep going forward. Just keep trusting God, and know that God has your back. He has your back, and he will vindicate you, because he sees in the secret place. He sees what nobody else can see. So just be reminded of that today, sisters. If this video blessed you, I encourage you to share it with someone. Also, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to stay in a posture and a place of surrender consistently at our Father's feet. And I will talk to you guys in the next video.